Yeah. Okay, so let's continue with this. Very interesting day. Amazing, met amazing people. A lot of things to reflect on, and so there are two things that occurred, and two thought processes which are kind of like not related, but related. You know, very interesting thought process. First, perception. To say truth is perspectival. The same applies to beauty lies on the eyes of the beholder, and truth is subjective, is based on individual's reality, hence is perspectival, is based on one's perception. And one needs to discipline or dictate their perception of what they want to see in this world. Means it boils down to thought diet, what you truly feed your mind, expresses itself in different ways because, say, the dominant idea, breed the outlet. So what you hold dear to your mind is something that you'll perceive in the reality. So one needs to discipline their perception and their perspective, you know, because that is like the VR or yeah, the VR, the thing. It's like your glasses that allows you to maneuver or to move in this material creation. So one needs to be very discern, needs to have this ability to be discernment. I don't know if it's a proper English word. Have to be able to discern, yeah, to be critique, to be able to see the bullshit in this totality and take things that are kind of like ethical and understand that the nature of this world is suffering, but not to make that suffering his reality, but to acknowledge it. The reason I'm saying this is because you need to dictate, or you need to discipline how you perceive and how you maneuver and how you consume and how you dissect the information that you gather through our senses. Yeah, through our senses, because one needs you as individual, me as individual, and need to be able to be aware of my thought diet. Not only what I eat, even if what I eat have more impact on how I feel, but how I consume whatever from music, you know, from what I perceive, from the conversations that I have on my cycle, basically influences my perception, and my perspective on certain topics or certain things in this reality. Yeah. And the second thing is being a transcendentalist and transcendentalism versus reality. So the conclusion is that being a transcendentalist is bullshit if you're not in tune with reality. Why am I saying that? Is this? Let me read it because I wrote it down on my laptop. So, okay. One, sometimes when someone claims to be a transcendentalist, but at the same time they're disconnected to the real life, which is you need money, you need relationships, you need responsibilities, you need community. you know Sometimes that becomes empty and even fake. So it turns into a spiritual escapism instead of growth. So, from my experience, is that I've been in this journey of trying to be a transcendentalist, but the more I dive deep to the rabbit hole, I become disconnected to the reality. I spirituality becomes an escape because you live in this world where you're not in tune with reality. You're not in tune with what is happening on the ground because you've created this reality in your mind where you just smile. Everything. It's I don't say it's a bad thing, but the truth of fact is that I need to find my dharma. Dharma means my essence. What is my essence? How can I align my essence with this game of life? What is my role within this dimension? So you find people like uh, Henry David, who basically touched on this subject of transcendentalism. So basically, being a transcendentalist means being deeply connected to nature, trusting your inner truth, living authentically, not blindly following the society because the society is governed by hierarchy of goals. So you need to reevaluate those goals in terms of go to school, do this, and do this and that. Basically, those are hierarchies of the society. So one needs to question the system, and this system that disconnect people from meaning. So basically, that's transcendentalism, the core of transcendentalism, finding your dharma, finding your nature, understanding your nature, and trusting your inner truth, and living authentically, understanding that you are individual and don't follow the society blindly. Understand that the society is governed by hierarchical codes which have been designed. It's a system, it's an organ, but sometimes you don't have to follow that system. You need to find a way to create your own path. So the real issue of transcendent itself, it's imbalance. Sometimes there's so much imbalance in the society, hence there's so much inequality, there's so much stupidity, there's racism, there's so much spiritual economics, you know, uh, division where people who have resources they get exposed to certain information so they progress easily because they can integrate. They can do something like self-regeneration compared to people who are not exposed to certain tools, which their perception and their way of life downgrades them. So that is like spiritual economics 101. So, what is the solution actually here? The true meaning of spirituality means grounding. So if one is only spiritual, they lose grounding. But and the other side of it is that if you are a materialist, you lose meaning. So there is a subtraction there. So if you're a spiritualist, you lose grounding. If you are a materialist, you lose meaning. So the powerful place here is integration, means being grounded in reality, understanding what money is and how you accumulate that. You know, when you read Asian scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, you find that there are three different modes of nature. Some people they accumulate this form of frequency in the mode of passion, in the mode of ignorance, and in the mode of goodness. Same applies to work, which is karma. So we have actions, we have karma yoga, we have bhakti yoga, so there are different levels of work or action. So there are actions which free us and there are actions which entangle us. So you need to understand that too, how action or work take place in this world and how one can position themselves And we have systems, within this dimension. But if you look at from the Vedic perspective, it speaks about Varna Ashram system, which is divided to different classes where people they're in tune with themselves and they follow their natural instinct. Hence, I'm saying that one needs to understand their nature, and another part is that one needs to be guided by the deep awareness, which is purpose and consciousness, and value system. What are you valuing? Consciousness means your action should be or allow you to purify your consciousness. Your work should not contaminate your consciousness, should purify your consciousness. Same applies as your purpose. How you accumulate money, Lakshmi, it should allow you to purify your consciousness, not to taint it. So hence I'm saying that transcendentalism without is bullshit without being in tune with reality. For example, there is this ancient text called the Bhagavad Gita, which is based on this warrior called Arjuna, who was a warrior by work. And you find him trying to be a transcendentalist, running away from his duty and try to go to the forest and meditate. That is bullshit, basically. You cannot run away from your duty, knowing that your nature, you need to protect people, you need to do certain things. So there is his teacher called Krishna. He managed to ground him and try to make him aware that no, you cannot run away from your duty. You need to perform your duty. It doesn't matter what circumstances. And he took him through different phases. But if you read the first chapter and the second chapter, it's focus more on the concept that I called self-regeneration before the collective. Before you can take action or understand the nature of action, one needs to be self-regenerated and understand their true nature. What is your dharma? What is your essence? And how do you position yourself in the totality of creation? Yes, so yeah, basically that's the whole reflection for today. Okay, let's stop here.